planning to kill him?
I do self-empowerment workshops in prisons with my mother.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, it's really her show. She does the workshops, and I go in as an assistant and a guest speaker.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I'm there every week and seeing the guys and talking
Really,
to them.
every week?
Yeah, she does her workshops every Tuesday, and my mom is an amazing person. She's really deep, and she goes in and she talks to the guys and she helps them kind of realize how much potential they have and how much power they have. And because so often in those institutions they don't get told how great they are, they get told how bad they've been and they have to change. But they don't actually get told that they have greatness inside them, that they have power and love inside them. And my mom goes in there and she doesn't care about what they've done. She just sees about what they can be, you know.
Yeah.
And that's and then it awakens something inside of them, you know. And then I go in.
Yeah.
And she does 6-week sessions.
Yeah.
And I go in on the 4th week as a guest speaker.
Yeah.
And I go in and I tell them about my childhood and how difficult my childhood was and how I ended up in my youth. I had really troubled youth, and I got into a lot of self-destructive behaviors and stuff.
Yeah.
And how I kind of got out of it by learning to believe in myself again and learning that. And so what I tell these guys is, no matter what you've done in your past, the past doesn't have to control you.
Yeah.
And it connects so deeply with the parenting work that I do, because every single one of the guys that we work with, every single one of them traces back their life decisions to their childhood.
Oh yeah.
Every one of them, almost without fail. And my mom always says that the parenting work you do will one day hopefully put her out of a job. So she won't have to, won't have to go in and do that work. I mean, maybe that'll happen, maybe it won't. But that's the idea, right? Building empowerment when the kids are young, helping them know who they are, believe in themselves, love themselves, and just believe that they have potential and they have worth.
Yeah.
Then they don't have to seek out behaviors that are destructive to feel good about themselves. They don't have to end up in crowds seeking validation from people because they feel it inside. And that's like the whole like essence of the parenting stuff that I teach is about building that strong foundation from day one. Which honestly, in my opinion, the traditional parenting model doesn't do. It doesn't focus on that. It doesn't even care about that, really.
So what is the difference between, even though I watched your website, right? Like if you could briefly tell us, what is the difference between the traditional parenting model and the parenting model that you teach?
Sure, it's a good question. So the traditional parenting model, in my observation, and also in my experience, because I was brought up very much in the traditional way, is really about paying attention to how the kids behave. What are they behaving respectfully? Are they acting with manners? Are they following the instructions, obeying the parents? Are they being good children? But it doesn't really matter why they're doing it, or what they're thinking, or what they're feeling during those times. That's not the focus. So you can have a kid who's really well behaved, and everybody says, oh, that's a good person. They're being a good child, but inside they're fuming, or they hate their lives, or they're upset, or even if it's not that bad, they're just not fully engaged in the wonder that they have, the joy of life. And the new parenting style, what I call conscious parenting, but it's also called gentle parenting, peaceful parenting, spiritual parenting. Attachment parenting is a more common term for it. That style focuses on what the child is feeling, what they're learning. Not learning as in behavior, but learning about themselves.
And you started on that.
And maybe it's a bit harsh for me to say they don't care.
Yeah.
It's not that they don't care about what their kids are feeling.
Yeah.
It's that's not the focus.
Yeah.
That's the difference, right? The focus really is on how they're behaving. Of course, parents love their kids and they care about them and they want them to be happy. And it's not that they're doing it on purpose. It's the way it's been for millennia. And it's not only how parents treat children, but it's how people have treated each other. Our society isn't one that's based on treating people in a really deep, compassionate way. There are people who do that, but that's not how everybody treats everybody. That's not the norm. It's certainly not how the power structures are organized. And the way the power structures are organized in a way affect how all of us interact with each other. And it's the same thing in the home. The way that there's like this what's the right word? Unconscious power structure in the home where the parents have a certain authority and the kids are subservient to that authority. And it kind of has to be that way in a way for a certain amount of time, because we have, as parents, we have the money, and we have the shelter, and we have the access to resources that the kids don't have. We also have a certain physical power over them. We can hit them, and we can lock them in their rooms, and we can force them to do things up until a certain age where we can't anymore, and then that backfires. But at least for a certain amount of time, we have all this power. The question is, how do we use that power? That's what really counts, right? So if I have the power to lock my child in their room, and I never use that power, if I have the power to withhold privileges and goods and materials from my child, and I never use that power and abuse that power, I'm teaching my child through example how to use power when they have it too. Conscious parenting is about thinking in the long term, thinking about what kind of adults do I want to raise, not what kind of child do I want to have in this moment, but what kind of deep skills and attitudes and feelings do I want my child to grow up with? And that's a totally different way of looking at it. So for example, I had this mother recently that was telling me about her kid who's, I think, 10, 12, something like that, and will not clean the bathroom and will not clean her room. Mm-hmm. And so and she's always on her phone. So her solution was, if I take away the phone until she cleans the bathroom, she'll want the phone, so she'll clean the bathroom. Now that is looking at behavior. And how can I modify the behavior of this child to suit my expectations and my needs? It's not thinking about why is she not cleaning the bathroom? And also, why would a person want to clean the bathroom in a family community? What reason would they want to? What reason would they not want to? When we feel part of a community, when we care about it, when we care about all the members, and when we feel cared about, we want to do what we can to support that community. But when we have resentment towards the community, especially the authority of the community, if we have resentment about the organization and the structure of it and our forced place in it, how can we spontaneously want to care about it? We can't. I get so choked up when I think about this, because I think about these kids. This is their home. This is the only place they have. This is where they want to feel safe and loved and secure. And even something as simple as taking away the phone until they clean the bathroom, it means it's not their home. It's not their home. It's not their phone. Their understanding of the community is warped that way. It's no wonder that you hear all the time kids are so terrible these days because they're not being disciplined. But the opposite is true. Kids are not taught to feel part of the community, to feel real care about their fellow human beings. Because if you can have somebody who has power over you and they use that power to make you feel bad, to adjust your behavior to their standards on their timeline, how can you feel good about that? You can't.
I agree. I was just sharing on the other video that I felt, I shared a situation where I kind of, when I was waking up every morning, I heard the screams of my dad was screaming, right, like on my mom or whatever. He was upset, and I felt trapped. I felt like there is no way to go for me, and this is how I have to grow up, and there's a certain power structure that is enforced on me, and it's like inhuman, right? And I realized at the point that it traumatizes me, but there is no way out. So I resonate in a lot of ways what you're saying, and I'm gonna ask you a question that interests me personally.
Sure.
I don't know if you have that experience, but I've heard a lot about kids growing in the community, where there is a lot of role models, and a kid does not belong to a specific family. It's more like open model that the kid can go around and meet different people and learn different things, so they don't get the imprint of a mother and father necessary on them
as deeply.
Yeah. So they have choice. They have they can see there is like more models, more ways of living. Have you ever have you ever experienced the the significance or like how that works? Did you see how like meeting other people, living together with other people affects a child?
Yeah, I don't really have that experience personally.
Yeah.
When I was growing up on my street, it was a different day. So the doors of most of the families were open. You know, people would wander into different people's houses and stuff. And it sounds idyllic, but it only was idyllic if you were one of the kids that everybody liked.
Oh, okay.
You know, if you happened to fit the model of the kind of behavior that everybody was kind of expecting. And I kind of wasn't. I was a little bit more withdrawn.
Yeah.
And so for me, I always felt on the outside of my neighborhood. So that really never worked for me. I can imagine that, I mean, in the city, that's a harder ideal. I can imagine in a commune or something like that kind of thing could work. Or maybe in an older, more traditional society, that could work. Yeah, yeah. So where do you feel the line between the like traditional and conscious parenting? Is it happening now because of some things that are happening in the society, or was it always like that? Is this a shift that going to happen to us necessarily sooner or later? Yeah. In these days, or is it something that always is just like a group of more conscious people would just bring it into the world? I think both are true. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't really know, but I think both are true. I think that there's always been people who do things this way, do things in a more conscious way. Mm-hmm. But I also think that the advent of the internet and like more ability to communicate globally really helps. Because when I was bringing my daughter up, I felt like I was all alone. I didn't know anybody else was parenting the way I was parenting. And everybody told me I was crazy and I was going to bring up an entitled, rude, obnoxious person who was going to control me and rule the home and all this stuff, And the opposite was true. Our home is one of harmony and joy and laughter, and just there's so much love and acceptance in our home. And it's because, there was never really anything to fight about. There's only something to fight about if I, as a father, if I insist things have to be a certain way, and she wants things to be another way, then we butt heads. But if she's doing this and I do this, there's no fight. There's no need to fight because I'm with her. I'm her guide. And then maybe, this is like martial arts, right? Instead of doing this in martial arts, I'm a martial arts teacher. And so in martial arts, in some martial arts, this is how things work. Yeah. But if you can do this instead, it's a little bit better. So this is people who maybe don't spank, but they still punish. It might be like this. Mm-hmm. But then you have this, where you just go with. And then when you have this gentle going with, you can guide it slightly. So I can use my influence to guide her movements. And this is what it is. I think more about influence. How can I get her to trust me? How can I get her to be open to me? I haven't answered your question exactly. Yeah. How can I get her to be open to me so that she trusts my influence? Yeah. So this is a totally different way of interacting with people, And I think that, so when I was growing up, I didn't have anybody who understood this. Or even agreed with me. I was criticized all the time. And I would receive the criticism and think about it objectively because I always want to learn and grow. But most people were telling me I had to be harder with her. I couldn't always say yes to her. I couldn't treat her like a friend. I had to be a parent first. That's what I always hear. I'm your parent. I'm not your friend. But I chose the opposite route. I chose to be a friend. I chose to be a guide, a wise guide friend. But I also saw her as my wise guide. I had way more to learn from her than she ever could learn from me. I could teach her how to not get burned on the stove and not run out into the street and how to eat with a fork. But she taught me about how to play and how to be curious and how to learn and how to have joy and how to laugh. Like I got so much more. I got the better end of the deal, in the education trade. But because I thought of it that way, she grew up knowing that she had something of value, right? So, now I now am one of the administrators of one of the largest parenting groups on Facebook. It's called Gentle Parents Unite, and you can look it up and ask to join. It's a really good It's a really good group. There's over 12,000 members. And people post their problems, and we offer advice from this perspective. There's 12 of us that work together to offer advice and suggestions. And so from morning to night, I'm spending time offering parenting advice to people about how to work with their kids in a more conscious way, without punishments, without consequences, without yelling, in a way that's collaborative and uses communication and connection. And all of a sudden, I'm part of this global community of people that think this way that I didn't even know existed 20 years ago, right? And so I think the internet is making this minority of people more together. It's like I have a community of people that I may never meet in person. And that's so beautiful because I feel like I'm not alone. And all of these parents who want to do it this different way, they know they're not alone. So I don't know if there's more people doing it now than there were before, but I know we know of each other more. We're connected more. But I also do see a shift, recent political events aside, I do see a shift in the way the world is moving. I do see a shift from a hierarchical, control-based way of relating to a more community-based, more about the process that we're all on, more about caring for the mutual benefit of everybody concerned, more about seeing the power and the goodness and the love and the beauty inside of everyone, and how can we bring that out together? It's a totally different way of interacting. And I think more of that is happening. I really believe it. I want to believe it. I need to believe it.
So when I was today, I was reading one of your articles about what is like raising a child, and giving them acceptance, love, understanding. I don't exactly remember the words that you were saying, but similar. And I started crying. I started crying because I had a lifestyle before that had more of that. And now as I work so much to survive, and I know maybe there is some other ways to survive or not, I don't know. Anyways, so that's...
But life is life.
Yeah, at this moment in my life I have to work to pay my bills, to pay for my son and all these things. And the environment that I'm working is it's really hard to have those qualities of love. How would you recommend me and people like me to keep bringing out those qualities of love, acceptance, even though the environment is so hard and sometimes tough. Sometimes people are aggressive around you, and sometimes the work is very hard, very stressful. What helped you maybe to keep going and keep supporting those values that you believe in?
You mean like keep them alive inside yourself and not be affected too deeply by the environment, or do you mean you want to bring them into the environment?
Exactly,
or
both.
Right. I thought it would be both.
Yeah.
It's a really good question. I think there's a few different answers.
Yeah.
One is about protecting it inside yourself.
Yeah.
In order to do that, I think it's kind of the same answer for both in a way. One of the main ways that I work on it, and I say work on it because I fail at this every day.
Yeah.
But I'm trying. One of the ways I work on it is I try and see that the reason those people are like that is because of their own pain, their own wounding, their own trauma, right? That's the reason I'm like that. When I get aggressive and angry, which I do, the reason I'm like that is my pain is being activated. It's like if you have like an open wound on your end, someone pokes it, you jump, right? Emotionally, it's the same. When we have a wound inside and someone pokes at it, we get aggressive, we get angry, we jump inside. It's the same thing. So if I can see that in the other person, if I can see that in mine, even though I don't have to say, I can see that you're hurting. You might get a punch to the face if you say that to certain people, right? But if you can feel that, if you can be aware of that about yourself and about the other people, it allows you to have this center of awareness, center of calmness that you can hold while the aggression is coming at you. And again, I'm going to use martial arts as an example. So I teach Ninjutsu.
Yeah.
And Ninjutsu is the art of the ninja. It's a Japanese martial art, very old Japanese martial art. And I love it. I've been doing it almost 30 years. And in Ninjutsu, we start every class with a saying that our grandmaster gave us, which is Shiken Haramitsu Daikomyo, which means in every moment there is the opportunity for enlightenment.
Wow.
And the idea behind that is that we're not just learning to punch and kick. We are learning to punch and kick, but we're not just learning to punch and kick. We're learning about something that's deeper inside of us. And even that is actually a combat method, because if you know yourself, if you can find that still, calm center where you can feel the compassion and care and stillness inside of yourself, and then you can see that wounding that's causing the other person to not be the kind, loving, compassionate person that you know they can be. Even the biker that was in jail for beating someone half to death that you were talking about earlier, even that person, when they were born, when they were one, they were this little cute little, so sweet, right? That's all they were. Everything else is layers on top of that. Can we learn to see through the layers consistently? That's for me. That's my main way of being able to survive in aggressive situations, and being able to forgive myself when I step off the path, which, like I said, I do every day.